All right, so Andrew, thanks again for having me on your farm near River Produce.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we've been here once, I think, before
Mm-hmm.
for breakfast in the beds,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we see each other regularly at the market. Um, so uh, my traditional question during those interviews are why, when, and how. So
Mm-hmm.
can we start with the why?
Sure. Um, we we left Sydney about 10 years ago
Mm-hmm.
for me to follow a dream to be a farmer. Something I've always wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
I have a background in horticulture,
All right.
and we started out here growing vegetables,
Mm-hmm.
supplying them to the local community, and then we've moved into pork production.
Yeah.
It's all pasture raised, free range, and the vegetables are grown, chemical free, spray free,
Mm-hmm.
uncertified organic.
Yeah.
But yeah, the pork's really taken off for us, so that's what we're concentrating on.
Okay. And at one point you had chicken. Is that no?
Yes, we also had a laying flock of chickens. The last batch of laying hens weren't that productive.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't proving to be economic, so we've just parked that to one side for the moment.
Yeah.
There's a few developments going on around the pork that we want to concentrate on, and once Therese is back on the farm full time, she might go back to eggs,
Yeah. Okay. All right.
because there's only so many hours in a day, and
Yeah. And you're basically on your own with another.
it's all labour dependent.
Yeah. Definitely. And I mean, you're in a beautiful location here. So can you tell us more about the region and why you
Sure.
chose that region?
Okay, well, before we left Sydney, we had some parameters as to where we'd go.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to be no more than 4 hours from Sydney and no more than an hour from the coast.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks to the work on the highway, we are 4 hours from Sydney,
Mm-hmm.
and about 45 minutes from inland from Port Macquarie.
Yeah.
The hinterland of the mid-north coast. It's beautiful. It's old dairy country.
Yeah.
So it's when it rains, it's very lush. Due to the soil type, though, it can dry out pretty quickly.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, we like it here a lot. It's we've got a wonderful river just
Mm-hmm.
it's our northern boundary, the Papenbarra, which
Mm.
flows into the Hastings.
Yeah.
and
So
it's good.
technically
There's
you're
a
in
good-
the Hastings River.
Yeah, we're
basin, right?
Hastings River catchment,
Yeah.
and Port Macquarie's the main centre for us.
That's right, yeah, definitely.
And yeah, we travel to Sydney each week with our produce.
Mhm. And so, why pork? then?
Why pork? A number of reasons. Some literally economic.
Uh-huh.
The way we manage the animals, basically, with a cow,
Yeah.
when you do cows, you get one cow a year,
Yeah.
one calf a year,
That's right. Yeah.
and it takes 12 months
Yeah.
at least
That's it.
to grow to size before you can take it to market. With pigs, you get, let's say, 2 litters
Mm-hmm.
with at least 8 out of each litter,
Ah, yeah. Okay.
and they're at market weight in 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that side of things. We can use them in our vegetable production to plough the beds before we grow vegetables in them.
Yeah. So
Often
they're
they're
like
referred to as the rotary hoe you eat at the end of the job.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that the loading, I have a regular 6x4 trailer, box
Uh-huh.
trailer that has a cage on it. I can transport the pigs in that. I don't need a loading ramp as you do with cattle and sheep.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's literally, we just did a bit of research, got our first 2 pigs and made sure that I liked them and they liked me.
Mhm.
And then a few months later, we borrowed a boar, and then we had lots of pigs.
Okay. Yeah.
which is the way it
Yeah,
goes.
it's a quick turnaround and a quick factory, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Hmm.
And so,
And there's a market, and clearly there's a market for what we do.
yeah, definitely, yes, yeah. And then, so I suppose, like any other animal farms I've seen apart from Bess and Aiden, you have to go and get your animals' kills offsite.
Absolutely. Yes, they're taken to the. I mean,
Yeah.
by chance, we purchased when we purchased the property, animal production wasn't in the picture.
Yeah.
But we're lucky we have a small family-owned abattoir just 45 minutes up the highway from us,
Yeah.
which is beneficial. The animals don't have a long trip.
Yeah.
That and I can load them here, early in the morning and have them up there and
Okay.
processed promptly.
Yeah.
And at the moment, they come back to a local butcher who does the cut up, and then we bring them back here and label them and store them
Yeah.
and
I was
market
going to
them.
ask you about that.
And we're looking. We will have an on-farm butchery in place here this year.
Okay. Wow.
So we
That's a
can-
big development.
We can do the cut up here. They will
Yeah.
still go to the abattoir to
Yeah.
be slaughtered.
Yeah.
Not going down.
Yeah. Well, everybody has talked about that with. They say that it's just such a complicated process to get approval and everything that it's probably
it's-
not worth it.
Particularly your environmental issues with your waste management
Yeah,
and things like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And that's how it is.
Yeah. That's fair.
We're just very lucky that there's an abattoir relatively close by.
Yeah. Well, same with Greg and Lauren at Linga Longa Farm. They have an abattoir like 7 kilometers away from their farm, so that's really easy. So that you have answered the question I was going to ask you, so that's fantastic. And so, what for the benefit of the people that will watch this and don't know you from above soap, so what makes your pork different than
What
most
makes
producers?
it pork different? A number of things.
Yeah.
We raise rare breed heritage animals.
Yeah.
So we do a line of purebred Wessex saddlebacks.
Yeah.
We also have a line of Berkshires.
Yeah.
They have and the way we raise them, they're pasture raised or outdoors, so they graze outdoors. So they're slower to reach market weight. It takes longer to reach market weight.
Yeah.
They have a higher fat content. And as any chef will tell you, the flavour of pork is in the fat.
Yeah.
That's basically why our pork
Yeah,
tastes
yeah.
the way it tastes. We believe that's why the pork tastes the way it does.
So that's pre-slaughtering. So what else do you do differently post-slaughtering in terms of conservation and packaging or
I
packaging?
mean, the pork isn't aged up. That's something we may look at down the track. We do like wet cure, or our butcher does wet cure of bacon and ham, both with nitrate or nitrate free. One of the advantages about bringing that process onto the farm will be that we can do some dry curing.
Ah,
So we're really excited about what the possibility that holds. But as far as the packaging goes, everything's cryovac, so it has a longer shelf life as a fresh product.
Like 4 weeks, is it?
Through about 3 weeks
3
with
weeks,
pork.
yeah.
And we do a couple of lines of sausages.
Yeah.
But primarily it's all what nature does and what we do with their feed. Their feed is, they do have a grain ration, but they're also given obviously access to lots of pasture and as much vegetable waste, for want of a better term. We also collect waste from a brewery, so the spent brewer's grain that they get access to each week, and there's a new cidery here in Port Macquarie, so we'll be accessing their pear and apple waste again. So it's it's great.
And so, for the benefit of people that don't know, and I'm not sure I do know precisely, what is the difference between wet cured and dry.
Okay. So a wet cure is that it's put in a brine for a certain amount of time.
Okay, I get it. Yeah.
Okay, and a dry cure is it's
Just
just simply salted.
Okay, yeah, I get that.
Wet cure is faster.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. So that's what people do.
That's why it's the most common. And,
Yeah.
Well, in commercial,
Yeah, production. Yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly. And so, I mean, I know some of these answers, but I want them for the benefit of the tape, as we say, although there is no tape.
showing your age.
Yeah. What's your route to market? Because I'm always very interested in being from
Our route to market. Well, one of the things we've what's important to us here at Near River is that people get to connect with the food they eat and find out who grows it, where it's grown, and how it's grown. So we basically direct market all of our produce. So what happens is that each Thursday night our truck is filled, loaded with the fresh pork that's been processed that week and the vegetables that we've harvested, and we truck on down the highway on a Friday morning and do our deliveries on Friday afternoon into Sydney to the chefs and butchers that we supply in Sydney, and then do a market on a Saturday morning. We also do some home deliveries to a limited area in Sydney.
Yeah.
And obviously we supply some outlets here on the mid-north coast earlier in the week.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And so, do you still do that market in Port Macquarie?
We don't.
No.
We no longer do any local markets.
Okay. All right.
It's all online. It's all online orders for locals, and some of the area's leading restaurants and cafes.
And so, can you tell us? I'm also obviously interested in the chef side of things. So, can you tell us who are your best
Sure.
restaurants?
At the moment, we weekly supply Ben Sitton at Uccello and Gareth and the team out at Acre at Camperdown, Acre Eatery, there at the Commons. From time to time, we've supplied the crew down at Banksia Bistro.
Oh, yeah.
And we're just starting to supply some chefs and cafes in Newcastle as well.
Because is that the result of your presence at the market?
Well, it works both ways. The hardest thing about Newcastle for us is actually delivering there, because it's it's an hour detour on the trip to Sydney.
Yeah.
So, but now that we're there on a Saturday afternoon and a Sunday morning, we can. A lot of the other thing about the Newcastle market on a Sunday is that a lot of chefs actually come to market
because it's early enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
So and it's got a great range of producers there.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting.
And how long have you been going to Newcastle for?
Since the end of November.
Very
short
recent.
time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's still growing and an experiment at this stage.
Yeah, it's great.
Fabulous. And all right, so that answers most of my marketing questions. So you mentioned that you sell online, and
we have a shop online.
yeah, and I know you're pretty active on Instagram. So is that is social media a big thing for you to grow your market, or is that just a window shopping kind of thing?
It's a way we connect with our community.
Are you on Facebook as well? I don't know.
Yes, we are on
probably.
Facebook.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We grow food for our community. The way for them to connect with us and see what we do, one of the ways to connect with us and see what we do is obviously through social media. And yes, it's provided some excellent opportunities for marketing and sales.
Yeah.
It's the way of the world these days,
Yeah.
and it keeps changing,
Definitely.
as you well know.
You have to be very much on the pulse.
Yeah, and it's it waxes and wanes. I'd like to think I post every day, but there are some weeks where it's kind of you're sick of it and have a break.
Yeah, definitely. We all like that.
Yeah. But no, it's good. I love the interaction. I mean, the other thing, as you know, that we do is we we have these on-farm events.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that as a separate
Which,
question. Yeah.
Which
So can you talk to us a bit more about the events you do?
Sure.
Please?
It started about 5 or 6 years ago. We came up with this idea of holding a thing called Breakfast in the Beds, where
And I said probably came to the first one or
Yeah.
maybe the second one. I can't remember.
people came out and harvested some citrus and harvested some asparagus
I
and
remember
collected
that
some
thing.
eggs, and
Yeah.
we had a chef or two here, and they handed it over to the chef, and we sat them down and gave them a bottle of glass of sparkling wine,
Yeah.
and the chef cooked them breakfast, and they ate the breakfast in the paddock that the food had been raised in,
Mhm.
and it was a big success. We had a heap of fun,
Mhm.
and I'm pretty sure that everyone that came
Yeah,
did too.
definitely. It was
And
a lovely event.
you know, I then turned to the chef and said, "Well, that worked. How about we do a 3 or 4 course meal?"
Yeah.
His jaw hit the floor, but he said yes. And because it was all done on, you know, barbecues and single ring gas burners. And yeah, and that so now we do twice a year. We do meals in the fields,
Yeah.
which is a 4 course sit down dinner in the paddock just over here, long communal table. One's a lunch, one's a dinner, and we feature obviously our pork and our vegetables and some of the fruit that we grow here, but we've now brought in some other local producers,
Yeah.
Burrawong poultry,
Oh, yeah.
Burradock, buffalo cheese, oxhill
Oh, yeah.
eggs,
People have told you to go
Things-
and see people.
you know, so it's a real celebration of local food,
Mhm.
and it's a lot of fun.
Mhm. So
We've had a
where,
variety of local chefs and increasingly chefs from Sydney are showing an interest about participating. The next one's in March
Yeah.
24.
so
we've
I need
got,
to come for this one.
Lee McDivitt from Banksia Bistro and his wife Amanda are manning the pans.
Ah, very good.
So yeah, it should be a good night.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a dinner.
It's a
The- on
dinner.
the 24th
Yeah, it
of March,
starts
okay.
about 5,
Yeah.
so
finishes
it's
when
twilight.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
Hmm.
Right. And so, how do people normally? Do you have a local accommodation for people?
This year we've actually arranged some deals with a couple of the resorts in Port Macquarie,
Ah, right.
and there's bus transport as an option from port to the farm and back,
Mm-hmm.
so you can have a real night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a nice drive, but it's not a drive you want to do when you are semi-intoxicated.
No.
It was very wet this morning, so I can. It's a lovely drive, though. I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
At least there has been less rain, but anyway, you can't choose. So here we drive, so that's fine. So, do you think you will augment the number of those events in the future?
No.
Is that just too much work, or is there not enough time?
It's
Or both?
it's twice a year is enough.
Okay.
It's like holding a wedding.
Yeah, definitely.
It's
It is.
very much
Yeah,
like holding a wedding.
wedding.
So
So how many people do you get now?
80.
Ah, yeah, that's big. Yeah, that's a wedding. Definitely.
Yeah. So you know, and it's all everything's brought in. I mean, there's some small amounts of infrastructure are done for each event,
Yeah.
but primarily it's all brought in and hired. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a lot of work.
it's an undertaking.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. All right. So is there anything else you would like to share with us before we wrap up?
Support your local farmers.
Yeah. And we do. We're trying our best.
3 times a day, you need a farmer.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, definitely. And as Tetsuya said once, I think, he said, since you have to eat 3 times a day, you better eat properly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always been that's the way it's been raised, basically. That's not
Yeah.
even my philosophy. So I've been, raised like that. So that's why I show so much interest in what you do and what other people like you do. So
Cool.
there we go. Well, Andrew, thank you very much for your time. And, we'll see you at the market then. All right?
You will.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.